This is the cheapest $12 keyboard I could buy on Amazon, and these are the $100 worth of parts that we're going to put into this thing to turn it into a fantastic little 10-keyless board. Why would we do this? Well, the real question is, why not? If you want to see more about this specific keyboard in its stock configuration, I'll leave a link to its dedicated video at the end of our upgrade. Step 1, let's tear this sucker down. You've got to strip it down as far as possible if you really want to make it better. And I think the main goal for today is to see if we can make this sound and feel as good as my main keyboard to type on. For comparison, my main keyboard is a GMMK Pro with some fancy switches, and it was not very cheap, so this cheap board has a lot to live up to. Because this is a cheaper board, these switches are soldered down. So for the first time in like a month, Mr. Desolderer gets to actually do something. Must be nice to have a job where you can just lay around for like 30 days at a time and not do anything, Mr. Desolderer. Now that everything is broken down, we can pitch these crappy blue switches. Okay, actually I don't really pitch anything because I'm a keyboard part hoarder. I mean, look at how many drawers full of random keyboard stuff I've got. Step 2, let's take the case and the top out for painting. While we're scuffing this bad boy up, let's talk colors. I think this time around we'll do a nice glossy white top with a bright orange base. At this point in the build, I'm still not exactly sure what keycaps we'll be using. I wanted to use those nice blue keycaps that we did not use a couple weeks ago, but we'll have to see how we're feeling after the painting is done. Look, I do a lot of these builds on the fly because it's all about the vibe for me. I don't know how a keyboard's gonna vibe until we start actually putting it together. Let's hit it with some primer and head back inside because holy crap, it's the summer and it is straight up miserable in my garage. Step 3 is to make sure all the stabilizers are taken care of. I personally hate this part, but it is the most important, so let's do it right. I've seen a ton of folks try things like the Holy Mod or other things to make the stabilizers sound better, but I feel like the less is more approach for these things. Mechanical parts can and do fail, and the more stuff you add to it, you increase the complexity and the chance of failure. So standard snapping, lubing, and greasing, and these stabilizers should be ready to go to make this $12 keyboard sound oh so good. Step 4, it's lunchtime, let's go make a sandwich. What? I like chicken patties. Step 5, the primer for the case is dry, so let's get to the painting. We still haven't come up with a name for the spray painting station, so let me know in the comments what we should call this thing, as it's been a mainstay character on the channel since we started a few months ago. A few coats of very nice orange later, and we can head back inside for step 6, lubing the switches. I really liked the silent silver switches from the Loudest keyboard build a few weeks ago, and I liked them so much, we got a whole other set for this particular keyboard, which is one of the reasons the cost of this particular board ballooned a bit. And no film for these switches either. I'm telling you this after that bad experience we had with the films a few weeks ago, and after that I've been kind of gun shy about using them at all going forward. But maybe next build we'll start rotating them in again. Now that we've got this all pretty much set, let's get these switches soldered back to the PCB so we can have it all ready to go once everything else is ready. Which means it's time to fix any sort of hollowness or empty sounds from the case. I don't remember what step this is. What step is this? Step 7? I think we're at step 7. Either way, we'll do my favorite addition, and that's adding some goopy silicone to the bottom of the case. I absolutely love doing this because it's quick, it's simple, and it can add a ton of heft and density to the build. This stuff isn't that expensive, and so long as you mix it properly, it's pretty darn amazing. Whew, okay, and we've got everything set up and ready to go. One of the cool things about this particular board, because it's soldered down, we don't have to do too much here because we had to, solder everything down. So this should be pretty quick reassembly today. So we've got everything soldered down. All the switches are good to go. They sound pretty darn good. I actually prefer soldering my switches down. I know that's gonna make me sound like some kind of super keyboard snob, but anytime I do hot swappable switches, I always break at least one switch. Whereas when you solder them down, I find that I don't break any of them. And speaking of which, one of the mods that we haven't done yet that I really wanna do, we're gonna do the actual tape mod where we tape the bottom of the PCB as opposed to putting a bunch of tape in the bottom of the case. This is supposed to make it sound really good too. Now, only do this if you've got some kind of a light tape. So this is painter's tape. This should not leave like a gross residue on the bottom of my PCB. In the past, you've seen me use gaffer's tape in here, and I don't mind that as much because that's a thick, like duct tape where it will leave a big gross residue in the bottom. But on the PCB, you don't really want to leave a bunch of gunk. Okay, there we go. We've got the bottom of the PCB taped up. Let's reconnect everything and get it going. I am just super excited about this keyboard. I think the colors turned out really well. The silicone is just, this stuff is amazing. Like, look at this. You don't have to worry about filling too much with tape. You don't have to worry about too much stuff. All you do have to worry about, though, is something that I messed up on. If you do have spots where the silicone can get out, you want to block that so that you don't get silicone all over your table. Ask me how I know that it can make a mess when it gets all over your table. Okay, we have to, 1 second. Makes sense if you're going to cover up the holes for the screws. You might have some problems getting your keyboard back in. So let's make sure we open up the spots for these. If you were expecting to come to Clickety and find somebody that's a master level keyboard builder that doesn't make any mistakes, well, you have not been here very long. Welcome to being a new person on our channel here. There we go. Okay. Man, that looks real good. Let's screw everything down. Okay, boom. There is ye olde upgraded keyboard. You can't even tell that this was a cheapo $12 keyboard from Amazon. Listen to this. That's a dense keyboard. I don't think we're gonna have any hollowness. I think it already sounds great with the switches. So let's pop the keycaps on and see what we're actually gonna get. And I like the little, I was gonna draw Clickety on here, like our logo, but I'm a terrible drawer, so we'll work on this in the future. Boom, and we now have our keyboard all ready to go. Now, I originally did not think I was gonna like these keycaps. I thought they were a little too periwinkle, like a little too just like light blue, but I don't hate it. I do wish they were a little more like a sharper blue, like a more saturated blue to contrast with the orange, but honestly, I think this looks fantastic. I think this looks way better than a $12 mechanical keyboard. But what matters most is, how does it sound? So this is what it sounded like before we did anything. And here's how it sounds now. No kidding, that might be the best sounding keyboard we've ever made. And I mean at any price point. Like, I cannot believe how good this keyboard sounds. Those silent silver switches are fantastic. And if you like this video, hit subscribe, then click here to watch the stock version of this amazing keyboard. Thanks for watching.